So, Roya, we've seen the first clips from Harry and Meghan's big interview with Oprah. How is it playing with Buckingham Palace and the British public?
Well, it is certainly very controversial here, just because, they were the most extraordinarily produced clips, weren't they? So tantalizing, so much suspense as to what Meghan might say. We only had a little bit from Harry. But even what we did hear, just a few sentences, has just caused pages and pages of coverage here in the newspapers, and it's been dominating the airwaves on TV shows ever since. And that's just a tiny snippet. So I think as the week goes on in the run-up to that big reveal on Sunday night, it's a pretty huge story here.
When did the palace first learn of the interview? Did the couple give the palace a heads up about filming in advance, or was it all pretty much a done deal before the Queen and other royals learned of it?
No, the palace weren't given any heads up at all. In fact, they learned about it at the same time as the rest of the world learned about it when it was announced that CBS were going to air it a couple of weeks ago. So it certainly caught them by surprise. And I think even though Harry and Meghan aren't working royals anymore, something sort of that magnitude, I think the palace might have hoped that they would have had a heads up, but they didn't.
And in the preview clips, you talked about this as well. We hear Oprah say pretty shocking things here and that no subject is off limits. How concerned is the palace about what the couple might say in this interview?
Well, they are, as you can imagine, a little bit tentative about what's coming down the line and a little bit apprehensive. There's no doubt there are going to be some explosions dropped during that interview, and the palace will be having to field, numerous requests and questions afterwards. The only thing I would say is that they have in their eyes, a much bigger problem on their hands, which is the Duke of Edinburgh and his health. He's now in hospital. He's been in hospital for more than 2 weeks, and the big concern at the palace and in the family is really for the welfare of Prince Philip. So you have, something huge coming down the line on Sunday, but really everyone is hoping and praying that Prince Philip pulls through. And of course, the timing of this interview coming up is quite unfortunate, as it is coinciding with Prince Philip's stay in hospital.
Yeah, that timing is something. And ahead of the Oprah interview, Harry did his own interview with James Corden as well. There were some light moments on that bus, but he also talked about the toxic environment the British tabloid media created for himself and Meghan. How has that interview played out with members of the royal family and the British public? Is there sympathy there?
I think the nice thing about that interview was that it was good to see Harry quite lighthearted again and obviously enjoying himself and having a laugh, because I think that's we miss that side of Harry. We like that side of Harry. I think, the narrative about Harry having a go at the British press, that doesn't really come as any surprise. And, I think everyone is expecting to hear that again from both of them on Sunday evening. I think, it feels very much in the UK that I think that the UK aren't really their target audience anymore. And that's fair enough. They've moved to the United States. They live in America. They've signed deals with big American companies that, they're raising their children there. So I think attitudes towards the couple in the UK have certainly changed. But I suspect now that they've, made the final clean break and put down roots in America, that will probably bother them less.
And there seems to always be comparisons. Talk about the expectations of Meghan compared to Kate. Both are under a microscope, just like Princess Diana. But was Meghan scrutinized more than others because she wasn't just being compared to Princess Diana, but Kate also?
I think a lot of people have forgotten the intense media scrutiny that the Duchess of Cambridge had for years in the run-up to marrying Prince William. They were together for a very long time, and for a very long time during their courtship, Kate was hounded by photographers. Her and her family was scrutinized, acres and acres of coverage. That went on for a very long time. So I think, unfortunately, when you marry into the royal family or you go out with someone in the royal family, you're dating them, it comes with the territory. But I don't think, I would say they both had an equal amount of media scrutiny. And it's tough. It is very, very tough. And no one who's not inside that family or in that position can understand what that's like.
Yeah, you're under that spotlight for sure. How do you think Harry and Meghan's interview will affect Harry's relationship with his brother, William?
Well, it really depends what he says. So we don't know the answer to that question yet. But look, that's a relationship that's very strained already. And certainly, I've had quite a lot of insight into that, and I've written about it. I'm not the only one. Lots of reporters have. That is certainly not the easiest of relationships at the moment. Look, it really depends what Harry and Meghan say in that interview as to how it would affect that relationship going forwards. But in an already very strange situation where a relationship that was once very close is quite strained, I don't imagine that interview is going to help a huge amount to heal the wounds that are still very raw there.
And when the so-called Megxit was first discussed last year, the couple said they plan to divide their time between the UK and the US. Are you surprised by their decision to, at this point, remain solely in the US?
No, I'm not surprised, because I think we've got to remember as well there has been this major global pandemic, and had it not been for the COVID-19 outbreak, I think Harry and Meghan would have probably been back a few more times in the past year to spend their time in, a little bit of time in the UK. I don't think anyone really ever thought that they were going to divide their time between the US and the UK. It was very clear when they went that America was their focus, and it's where they were going to put down roots and raise their, raise Archie, and now another one on the way. So no, that doesn't really come as a big surprise, because I think once they went, it was always their intention to go. So we hope, if travel restrictions ease in the coming months, we might see a bit more of Harry. And then, of course, when Meghan's able to travel again, once she's had their baby, we might see a bit more of them both.
And the Queen is about to turn 95 and has been turning over more and more duties to other royals. How do you think the couple's move might impact the future of the monarchy? We're not likely to see Prince Charles or William and Kate step down, but are other members of the royal family, the young royals, likely to follow suit and seek maybe a simpler, non-royal life?
Well, I think it's interesting because the future of the monarchy has been carved out really by the Prince of Wales in terms of Prince Charles's future vision for the monarchy is of a much more streamlined monarchy anyway, and really only senior members of the royal family doing royal duties. And we've seen a bit of a realignment in the last couple of years, with Harry and Meghan stepping back from public duties, with Prince Andrew stepping back from public duties with ongoing issues there. And there has been just a sort of core of the Queen, Charles and Camilla, William and Kate, and Edward and Sophie, and of course the Princess Royal, Princess Anne, and they will be the core members going forward. So I think, the more minor royals we don't really hear about, I don't think they'll need to step away or step back from anything else, because official royal duties are going to really fall to that magnificent seven, as they've been called over here.
And all but one of the Queen's children, Prince Edward, have divorced. With Harry and Meghan's marriage, and more recently Princess Beatrice, it seems the Queen has maybe put aside those royal expectations of having to marry into a titled or ancient family and allowed her grandchildren to really marry for love. Is that your observation as well?
I think the Queen would always want everyone in her family to marry for love as and when they can. And there's no doubt. I think we've got to remember that whatever has happened in terms of Harry and Meghan choosing a new life, and it has been painful on both sides, he is still her grandson. They are still, as she keeps saying, much loved members of her family. Every statement she puts out, she's very keen to reinforce that message. So, Harry did marry for love, and he's chosen a different path. And while that may have shaken the monarchy a little bit, it's not an insurmountable obstacle to him staying, a key member of the family, just not a key member of the family business.
Yeah, that family foundation still there. Roya, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you spending some time with us.
Pleasure. It was great to chat.